After his band broke up, he went solo and created an album that helped get him some hits and a tour with Rush, Andy Curran, and the 30th anniversary of Whiskey and the Devil on Rock History Canada. How do you get the train going? Do you ever have problems? Are you one of those guys that if you stay away from it, it's harder to get back to it? Because that's me. But
Mhm.
how do you self motivate? How do you how do you keep this train going? How do you do it?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that too, because and not to name drop, I talked to Alex Lifeson quite a lot. We always had a great friendship, and he tells me he plays his guitar every single day. And he's like, he's like a 16-year-old kid. Look at my calluses on my hands, Andy, right? I don't have that discipline. I think I go through bursts and ups and downs of creativity where I'll feel inspired one day and I'll go, you know what? I know I started a couple ideas in the studio. I'm going to go and see if I can finish them. Or I'll be driving around in the car, John, and melody will come in my head and I'll pull over and I'll grab my iPhone and I'll sing into it. And then I'll go home and I'll lay it down on guitar and bass, right? But having a personal home recording studio has definitely been another blessing for me because I don't. Again, I feel lucky enough that I can, if I get an idea, I can just go into the room, close the door, put the headphones on, put it down, and I don't have to go to a recording studio or get a whole band together and everything, right? But you had mentioned saying it was it cathartic. It was. It was really cool to clean up a little bit, keep my wife happy. Look how many boxes are going out, and look how many are.
So when you revisit a recording and you repackage and it comes out and it's a box set, that's how is that a cathartic experience for you to do that?
Absolutely. It was, listen, I'm going to condense this because I could keep you on for a very long time, but I'm going to blame the pandemic and I'm going to blame the COVID outbreak for starting to purge at home. And my wife, and she's been so supportive, but she'll say to me stuff, John, like, do you really need 15 bankers boxes filled with old tapes and articles and photos and everything? And I'm a bit of a pack rat, guilty as charged, right? So I start going through these boxes and I'm finding old demos and I'm finding photos and a lot of it like that was if I was to speak maybe and at the risk of sounding almost a little bit arrogant here, that was a really good period for me after I left Coney Hatch and had some three top 10 hits off that solo record, two Juno Award nominations, took home a Juno, ended up finished 18 months on the road and playing on the with Rush opening on the Roll the Bones tour. So quite an incredible ride, right? And I look back at that record and it's 30 plus years old. And I'm really proud of it. And a bunch of my buddies were like, well, how come you're not re-releasing it, man? You should re-release it, celebrate the anniversary of that record, right? And so I ended up talking to Tom Barry at Alert Records, and I said, Tom, COVID, we kind of missed the 30th anniversary. What do you think? Why don't we re-release it? I've got some demos and I've got outtakes and I've got this and I've got that. And all of it was a product of COVID and going through these bangers boxes, right? So Tom said, look, I don't really have an active label with Alert anymore, but if you want to do it, go ahead and do it. I'll let you do it. And so he had donated all of my master tapes to the University of Toronto. He gave me full access to them. And John, when I got a hold of them, I forgot most of the stuff. I forgot that we had recorded two extra songs. I was like, oh my God, yeah, those two songs, we never put them on the record. And then I found some live performances and everything. So it jogged my memory, but full transparency, buddy, it made me feel very proud to go, oh, wow, what a rocket ride I was on for that particular chapter of my life, and then looking back at it and um, I'll name drop and tell you that Steve Harris from Iron Maiden, a very close friend of mine, we became friends when Coney Hatch toured with them. And he would say to me stuff, he'd call me, go, yeah, mate, I'm listening to your Whiskey and the Devil record. It's brilliant. And I said, well, Steve, it's funny you said that. I just remixed it. And he said, I hope you haven't screwed it up, mate. It didn't need remixing, right? But in my mind, it did. It was 30 years later. So I wanted to freshen it up. I wanted to the indicative of that time was lots of reverb on the vocals, lots of reverb on the drums. So I tamed them down, and he called me up and said, "I hope you haven't screwed up your record."
Has he heard it? Has he?
He's heard it, and he said, "I think you did a good job, but I still prefer the old one. I still prefer the old one." And I have to tell you that I remember getting the ZZ Top Tres Hombres record when they had remastered it and remixed it. And I was really disappointed because it didn't sound like that old ZZ Top record, right? And I had grown to love the sound of that record. And when you get emotionally attached to records and somebody changes them, people get angry, right? So I don't know. So far, so good. Nobody's complained except Steve Harris, and that's a pretty loud voice.
We'll have more from Andy Curran in the next few days. He's celebrating the 30th anniversary of his debut album, Whiskey and the Devil, which gave him hits, touring with Rush, and some hit singles in there. We'll have more from him in the next few days. Make sure you comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. Also, if you join our Patreon, you'll have early access to our videos. And you can also make a donation, all in the description of this video. And of course, links to Andy Curran and Coney Hatch as well. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Canada.